Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Ever wonder how media like television shows, movies, and the internet can actually help people feel more comfortable with themselves and others, especially when it comes to being LGBTQ? Well, this new study dives deep into just that. It turns out the way we see ourselves and the way we accept others are actually quite connected. Imagine you are learning about a new hobby, say playing the guitar. You might seek out online tutorials to learn yourself. And at the same time, you might watch your favorite musicians on YouTube and start feeling a connection to their music and their journey. This new research looks at how that plays out for LGBTQ people and the people close to them. Like friends and family, it is all about how media helps build acceptance, both the kind we have for ourselves and the kind we have for the important people in our lives. The big question researchers wanted to answer was, how exactly do forms of media, from old school television to the latest social media, act as tools or resources to help people develop these feelings of acceptance? They wanted to see if these tools were the same for LGBTQ individuals learning to accept themselves and their identities, and for their friends and family who are learning to accept LGBTQ people in their lives. So, how did they figure this out? They talked to people, 31 people in total, a mix of individuals who identify as LGBTQ and people who are close to LGBTQ individuals, like their friends, family members, or even roommates. They had these in-depth conversations, asking them about their experiences with identity, acceptance, and how media played a part in all of it. They really wanted to hear the personal stories and the behind the scenes of how people learn and grow. Think of it like this: they weren't just asking yes or no questions. They wanted to build a full picture, a rich understanding of how media fits into this whole puzzle of acceptance. The researchers themselves were also part of the process, reflecting on their own perspectives and how that might influence the interviews. They used different methods, like talking back to participants to make sure they understood correctly. And the whole team discussed their thoughts as they went along. After they gathered all these stories, they looked for patterns. What were the common threads? They found three big themes: developing identity, developing acceptance, and developing allyship. In this case, is about how both LGBTQ people and their allies can use their experiences and their acceptance to help others and maybe even make bigger changes in society. And here is a key point. These things aren't necessarily one after another. They can happen at the same time, influencing each other. For example, as someone explores their LGBTQ identity, that exploration can lead to greater self-acceptance, and that self-acceptance can then fuel their desire to be an ally. It's a dynamic, ongoing process. It's not like you, Finnish, being LGBTQ or Finnish accepting someone. It is more like a continuous journey of learning and growing. The researchers then mapped out all the different things people use to help them with this journey. They called these resources, and they looked at them in three big buckets: individual resources, social resources, and environmental resources. Individual resources are things like your own thoughts and experiences. Social resources are the people in your life, like friends and family, and environmental resources are the bigger things around you, like your community, and importantly here. What is really neat is that in this system of resources, there was a lot of overlap between what LGBTQ individuals and their close others used. This means that the paths to understanding and acceptance, even though they might feel different, often lead people to similar sources of support. And that brings us to media. Across the board, media popped up as a really important environmental resource. People mentioned using it when they didn't have other, more direct social or environmental supports available, or even to help them access those other resources from a distance. They used all sorts of media. Think about it. Searching online for answers, visiting websites of LGBTQ organizations, reading the news, scrolling through social media, watching television shows and movies, listening to music or podcasts, and even playing games. Pretty much anything you can consume through a screen or speakers. But why did they use these media? The researchers found 5 main reasons: for information, for entertainment, for representation, for connection, and for creation. These motivations then helped meet 8 different needs, like feeling a sense of belonging, getting a sense of normalcy, or simply understanding things better. Let's break down those motivations a bit. First, information. People use media to learn. They wanted facts, explanations, and guidance, especially when they were trying to understand their own identity or how to support someone else. They stressed that they wanted this information to be presented respectfully, not in a way that made LGBTQ people seem less than human. Then there's entertainment. This might seem simple, but for close others, just watching LGBTQ content for fun was satisfying. It didn't necessarily fulfill a deep psychological need for them in the same way it could for LGBTQ individuals, but it was still a part of how they engaged with the topic. Representation is huge. This is about seeing LGBTQ people in movies, on television, in books, and online. For many, seeing themselves or people like them reflected in media was vital. It wasn't just about seeing LGBTQ people exist, but about seeing them portrayed authentically with complex personalities, not just as stereotypes. This breaks down into two important parts: visibility and identification. Visibility is just being able to see that LGBTQT people exist in media. Identification is deeper. It is about LGBTQT individuals, actually recognizing themselves, their own feelings or experiences, in the characters or stories they encounter. This was really only applicable to LGBTQ individuals themselves. Connection is another big one. Media, especially social media and online communities, provided spaces for people to connect with others. This could be through direct messaging, online groups, or even just sharing a television show or a book with someone. These were called online living rooms by some participants, a place to feel together. And finally, creation. This was mainly for LGBTQ individuals who use media to create their own content, like art or online groups. By sharing their own stories and identities, they were not only expressing themselves, but also creating visibility and connection for others. Now, let's talk about those needs media helped fulfill. For LGBTQ participants, things like subcultural capital were important. This means understanding the jokes, the references, the shared experiences within the LGBTQ community that make you feel like you are really part of it. Media, like lesbian TikTok or specific podcasts, helped them build this. Another need for LGBTQ individuals was relief. The journey of self-discovery and acceptance can be tough. Media, especially humorous content that pokes fun at anti-LGBTQ sentiment, could lighten the load and provide a much-needed break. A fundamental need, especially for LGBTQ individuals, was sense of belonging. Media helped them feel less alone, supported, and part of something bigger. This could come from watching shows that others in the community enjoyed, or finding online communities where they felt understood and accepted. Watching shows like RuPaul's Drag Race, for example, showed them a community in action they hadn't seen in their everyday lives. Everyone, both LGBTQ individuals and their close others, found joy through media. Seeing positive representation or connecting with others over shared media moments brought happiness. For LGBTQ jewels, seeing themselves authentically represented could even lead to queer joy and pride. Sense of possibility was another crucial need met by media. For LGBTQT individuals, seeing themselves in media could show them what their future might look like, what lives are possible for them. For close others, it helped them understand the challenges and realities of being LGBTQ, which in turn could deepen their understanding and empathy. Sense of safety was also addressed. People used media to check out how safe certain places were for LGBTQ individuals, especially when traveling for LGBTQ. People online platforms also offered a sense of safety by allowing them to connect from a distance, sometimes even anonymously. The need for understanding was met through information, visibility, and connection. For LGBTQ people, identifying with characters helped them understand their own experiences. For close others, seeing diverse representations helped them grasp the LGBTQ experience better, and media could spark important conversations, like a parent asking their child about identity while watching a show together. Finally, sense of normalcy. This is about seeing being LGBTQ as just a normal part of life, not something strange or deviant. Media, by showing diverse expressions of gender and sexuality, expanded people's views on what is normal. For LGBTQ individuals, seeing themselves in authentic representations helped them feel normal, not like an outsider. So, what is the big takeaway from all this? The study highlights that acceptance, whether for yourself or for others, is an ongoing process, not a final destination. It is something we constantly maintain and develop, and media plays a significant role in this. The researchers found that media can act as a substitute for other resources and are generally a valuable tool for developing acceptance. They also found that the way people use media and the needs these uses fulfill are quite complex. While the motivations for using media align with older theories, this study adds a more detailed layer showing how different motivations can meet various needs for both LGBTQ individuals and their allies. Now, no study is perfect, and the researchers were upfront about this. A key limitation here is that most of the close other participants were already accepting. This means the study couldn't explore how media might help someone move from disapproval or rejection to acceptance. That is a whole other story, and a really important one. Another important point is that all the participants in this study were white Europeans. The researchers rightly point out that future research needs to be more intersectional, looking at how race, ethnicity, and other identities might affect how people access and use these media resources. LGBTQ people of color, for example, often face unique barriers. So, What does this mean for you, for us, for society? Policymakers and creators should remember that acceptance is a journey. Media can be a powerful tool for connection, and it is vital that media content is created with respect and authenticity. And crucially, the study found no evidence that media make people LGBTQ. This debunks a common fear and highlights that inclusive representation in media isn't just for a niche audience, it has broader appeal and impact. In a nutshell, media can be a valuable resource for fueling LGBTQ acceptance, both for individuals themselves and for the people close to them. It offers information, entertainment, representation, and connection, fulfilling needs like belonging, safety, and understanding. And the really positive news is that media doesn't have to be specifically made for one group or the other to be effective. It can simply be good, authentic content that resonates with a wider audience. What are your thoughts on how media has influenced your own understanding of yourself or others? Let us know in the comments below. If you found this breakdown helpful, please give this video a thumbs up. Share it with your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to RUBIN'S Mind Lab for more explorations of the fascinating world of psychology. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.